If you were at a quiz show and they asked you which European country has the richest monarch, you might first think of the British royal family. Sorry to burst your bubble, but it's not them. It's not the royal families in Spain, the Netherlands, Belgium, Sweden, Norway, or even Monaco. The richest royal family happens to be from the most unexpected one. They come from the super-secret Principality of Liechtenstein, which is Europe's least visited nation, home to the fewest people with a population of just 37,000. This humble nation occupies a mere 62 square miles of land and holds the deepest secrets of the international super-rich and ruling dynasties. Discover more about Liechtenstein, how they amassed their wealth, and why this country even exists right here. But before we continue, make sure you have liked this video. Also, hit that subscribe button and stay updated with more videos in the future. The enigmatic country of Liechtenstein is nestled in a narrow valley between Austria and Switzerland, and it comfortably boasts the highest gross domestic product per person in the world. So it's no wonder that wealthy tycoons and corporations have opted for this tiny alpine hideaway, which specializes in managing offshore trusts and foundations to safeguard their assets for their families and future generations. Even well-known companies like the furniture giant IKEA have parked around $11 billion in a foundation registered in Liechtenstein. For the past 5 decades, Liechtenstein has been the go-to choice for wealthy individuals and ruling families to safeguard their assets through robust trusts and foundations. Some of their high-profile clients include Russian oligarchs and even the Saudi royal family. Today, Liechtenstein ties with Monaco for the title of the world's wealthiest nation, boasting an impressive GDP per capita of $170,000 and offering one of the highest living standards globally. Remarkably, it carries 0 external debts, a rarity among countries. However, at first glance, its path to prosperity might not seem apparent. The mountainous terrain and lack of access to the sea hinder trade and development. Its small population presents challenges for its manufacturers to compete globally, and it possesses minimal natural resources of value. So, how did this tiny principality transform from an isolated valley of impoverished farmers to an incredibly affluent nation? Like so many of these tiny European countries, Liechtenstein has a backstory that goes way back, even before the 18th and 19th century wave of national unity hit Europe. Back then, Europe was a mishmash of kingdoms, duchies, and little princedoms. Liechtenstein got its name from the Liechtenstein family, who can trace their roots back almost 900 years to Eastern Austria. They named themselves after Liechtenstein Castle, which they still own as of today. The land that now makes up Liechtenstein used to mostly be the country of Fittest, covering the bottom half of the country today. Interestingly, Fittest has now become the capital of Liechtenstein. In 1719, Holy Roman Emperor Charles VI merged the country of Fittest and the Lordship of Schellenberg into the Principality of Liechtenstein, named after Anton Florian of Liechtenstein. This move also officially incorporated Liechtenstein into the Holy Roman Empire. Now, moving beyond this history lesson, as with other microstates like San Marino and Andorra, the big question now is, how did Liechtenstein manage to survive to the modern day? Just like Andorra and San Marino, Liechtenstein's story is intertwined with Napoleon. After Napoleon's victory in the Battle of Austerlitz in 1805, the Holy Roman Empire pretty much disappeared. Before that battle, Liechtenstein was almost merged with Bavaria. However, instead of that merger, it became its own state as part of Napoleon's Confederation of the Rhine. After Napoleon's downfall, they were closely associated with the German Confederation until 1866, when they jumped ship and became pretty tight with the Austrian Empire until World War I. In World War I, they technically stayed neutral but got embargoed by the Allies because they were still cozy with Austria. After World War I, Liechtenstein decided to turn its focus towards its western neighbour, Switzerland. Austria was doing badly after the war and Liechtenstein was affected as a result. They quickly needed to attach their economy to the much more stable Swiss franc, and Switzerland, being a friendly neighbour, soon became their main supporter. During World War II, Liechtenstein, just like Switzerland, officially stayed out of the fight. During that time, they gathered up as many assets as they could from their family holdings in Europe and brought them to Liechtenstein. After World War II, most of the family's land in Poland and Czechoslovakia got seized by the communist governments there. Though the country did not actually fight during World War II, it lost a lot of resources on account of it. After the war, the country was in really bad financial shape. They had to sell off their family's art collection to make ends meet. In 1967, they even sold one of the few remaining paintings by Leonardo da Vinci, the Ginevra de' Benci, to the National Gallery of Art in the United States for a whopping $5 million, which was a record price for a painting at that time. For centuries, this tiny alpine country, founded back in 1719, used to be seen as Europe's underdog. It's nestled in the Rhine Valley, bordered by Austria to the east and Switzerland to the west, and it didn't have much in terms of its own natural resources. Agriculture, which was one of the main sources of income until around 1930, mainly catered to local needs. The domestic market was pretty small, and there wasn't much capital for business ventures. The wave of European industrialization didn't really hit Liechtenstein until 1836, when the Schädler tiled stove factory kicked off. That eventually transformed into a ceramic art company that's still around today. It wasn't until 1852 when a customs treaty with the Habsburg monarchy finally gave them access to a bigger market. In 1861 they set up their first bank, and that's when they began expanding their infrastructure. They built bridges over the Rhine at Scharn and Bendern. In 1864, they opened up the Samina Valley with a road and a tunnel, paving the way for alpine tourism. From 1872 onwards, Austrian railway trains started running through the country, and they even built a station in the capital city of Scharn-Vaduz, even though it wasn't a major stop on the long-distance lines between Austria and Switzerland. Thanks to duty-free access to the Austrian market, a bunch of weaving mills popped up, all powered by swift mountain streams. Two Swiss entrepreneurs, Jasper Jenny and John Jacob Spoery, got together in 1905 to create a big textile company that kept churning out stuff until 1992. Starting from the 1930s, more and more businesses began to spring up, taking advantage of low wages and taxes. These companies mainly dealt with metal, machinery, and gadgets, many of which are still around today. In the 1950s, these newly minted industries in the country really took off. Employee numbers sometimes shot up like crazy, growing 5 times over. Some companies even went global and became world leaders in the 1960s. Today, about 40% of Liechtenstein's gross domestic product comes from high-tech, research-heavy industries that are all about exports. Liechtenstein is one of the most industrialized places on Earth. But here's the kicker. Most folks, 62% to be precise, now work in the service sector. The financial services industry in particular has become a big deal in the economy. Interestingly, the country has more jobs than residents, with almost half of the workers commuting in from Switzerland and Austria. The nation has a couple of interesting quirks. First off, can you believe it's the only place on Earth with more registered companies than actual residents? Another fun fact is that there are only about 90 lawyers in the whole country, and all these lawyers handle documents for roughly 7,000 companies each year on average. Who would have guessed? It's even more impressive than Elon Musk managing all of his companies. Now, while they don't really have a big issue with other nations, Liechtenstein has gotten a bit of a bad reputation for being a tax haven, which might not be entirely fair on its part. A tax haven is usually a country that offers businesses low tax or zero tax rates, financial secrecy, and favorable financial regulations to minimize their tax liabilities. In truth, just like Monaco, another place that usually gets a bad rap for the same thing, Liechtenstein does have taxes. In fact, Liechtenstein has quite a few taxes, including that scary wealth tax that rich people really hate. A wealth tax isn't about what you earn, but what you're worth, which means super rich people like Jeff Bezos, who doesn't make much from his Amazon CEO job, don't exactly love it. Someone like Jeff Bezos got insanely rich because he had assets, especially Amazon shares, that shot up in value. Now, Jeff Bezos doesn't have to worry about taxes on those shares until he decides to sell them, which basically means he pays way less in taxes compared to the average person. If he were to be a citizen of Liechtenstein, then he might have never even been the richest man in the world. This doesn't mean that there are no wealthy people in the country. It's a well-known fact that the Liechtenstein family holds the title of the richest family in Europe. They rank as the 6th wealthiest royal family globally, trailing behind Thailand, Saudi Arabia, Brunei, Abu Dhabi and Morocco. Their wealth mainly comes from two sources. First off, they've got an impressive art collection valued at nearly $2 billion, even though they did sell off quite a few pieces after the war. The rest of their wealth comes from their involvement with the LGT group. It used to be called the Liechtenstein Global Trust, and it's all about the high-end private banking and asset management. Before a crucial referendum in 2003, Prince Hans Adam II even threatened to sell the whole country to Bill Gates if things didn't go his way. Now, considering the Liechtenstein family's total wealth is around $4 billion, it kind of makes you wonder if such a thing is even possible. Could the Prince of Liechtenstein hand over his role and title and essentially sell an entire country to someone for a price? For billionaires like Bill Gates or Jeff Bezos, tossing a few billion for a sovereign nation could be pocket change. Wouldn't it be a big flex to say that you own the richest country in the world? Liechtenstein is not only one of the richest countries in the world, it's also home to some of the most hospitable people you'll ever meet. That is, if you ever meet them. If you are planning a calm European vacation, you should definitely add this country to your list. Being around so much money will probably spark that $1 million idea you have been waiting for. With that, we have come to the end of today's video. Thanks as always for watching. If you enjoyed this video, it would be great if you could like, subscribe and share your thoughts in the comments below. See you next time.